I was a little unsure about doing this honestly because I wasn't I saw the first episode a few times
Uh-huh.
now. It didn't hit for me. I don't know why, and we'll get into that in a
Ooh.
second. But now having seen more episodes and then going back to rewatch the first one, I watched 5 episodes last night and I was like, okay, this is actually pretty good. And then I watched the first one this morning to take all the notes, and it's like, okay, actually,
Mhm.
it's not too bad. It's better than I thought it was. But what's your like comic book experience or in general? Are you a comics book guy? Comic books
My
guy?
first, I would say yes. I mean, I didn't really start collecting comic books until I was like maybe 26 or so.
Yeah.
And but before then, my comic book related knowledge was like movies and television, and then maybe the occasional, like my parents, they didn't really buy comics for us or anything like that. Um, But every time we went to the convenience store, sometimes they'd have them displayed, and you'd be like, "Oh, where's the Spider-Man issue?" And so I'd look at it and thumb through it for a second. But my first comic that I got was I was probably like I was close to like out of high school, so I was probably like 18, and it was the series of Gambit comics. I can't remember the arc, but I got them and I never opened them, and I still have them. But I recently looked up their value. I was like, oh, okay, they're pretty moderate. So I opened them up and I started reading them. But I had those comics for a while, and I was just like, Gambit was my first comic that I collected, and then I was really into X-Men, and um, I collected like the entire run of the DC New 52 run. Um,
Oh wow, that's a lot.
yeah, it,
Of all
it
of it,
was a
like
lot. It was
every single, like even like the Teen Titans, like the Suicide Squad, I think.
yes,
Okay,
yeah.
that's a good
Teen
run.
Titans, Suicide Squad.
I recently read that actually because yeah,
Yeah,
it's got one of the only times that Raven almost destroys the universe.
yeah, yeah. She's actually a powerhouse, which is really cool to see. Because I don't know if she's depicted as that powerful in previous comics, but it was fun. And yeah, it was like collecting the random ones like Resurrection Man and the Swamp Thing. I liked those runs, even though they didn't last as long as the others. But Resurrection Man is probably one of my favorites now, and I really like Swamp Thing. But yeah, that's pretty much the extent of my like pretty modern. I'll go through and I'll watch YouTube videos and listen to them in the background of comics explained. Yeah, but I have to say X-Men has always been on the top list of teams of superheroes for me, and I've always favored like Nightcrawler or Professor Xavier in that case. How about you?
My I've collected a lot of comics, but have read very little. Uh, actually I've read a lot, but I'm one of those people that reads one and then immediately forgets everything. But I was pretty heavily into buying comics in high school. That's when I started getting into drawing in general. So I was like, I should look at more
Mm.
comics. There's art in there. So I have a bunch from around that time, a bunch of like Alex Ross stuff. He had a cool, I think he had a run called Justice going on back then. Alex Ross does like crazy painted comics that is insane. Do you know his artwork?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, he lived in Lubbock.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah, he
he
went to the same high school I went to.
that's awesome. He was a hero of mine when I first started getting into art. I mean, he's still a hero. I just think he's like an insane person though. Who does comics and wants to like paint them photorealistically? Like I don't know. It's,
Oh,
like I mean, he's doing well,
yeah,
so it's worked out. It worked out. He's a
uh-huh.
legend. But my God, dude.
He is a
But so
legend.
yeah, I have a
Yeah.
bunch of his comics. Kingdom Come obviously is amazing. I didn't actually read the Justice one though. I just bought it and looked at the artwork. And then
Hmm.
in 2019, 2020 era, I got heavily into comics because I actually got hired to do like a couple So I was like, I don't know. It was just as a form of research, I bought a bunch of comics, and then I got upset. I don't know. I was spending like $50 a week every Wednesday when they came out, and but that was around the time the X-Men run, the House of X, Powers of 10 arc was kind of coming out, which is it was like a big X-Men deal. It was really good. I read it, and again, I don't remember. And yeah, I don't really buy a lot of comics anymore. Every once in a while, I'll pick up. There was a recent like Batman run done by Mark Silvestri, and the artwork in it is pretty awesome. But I only have like 3 of those issues. It's about Batman teaming up with the Joker. It's pretty cool.
Okay. I may have heard about that one, but I hadn't looked into it.
Yeah, I mean these days
It's funny enough, I feel like Batman's.
I was just gonna say I usually just wait for them to come out in the trade paperback at this point, unless it's like the first appearance of a character, because those are the ones that end up going up in value sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, unless that's I don't know. Yeah, I just don't go to the comic book store anymore. Also because it's kind of awkward going to the comic book shop that I used to go to. Just because it's a small room, it's usually just me and the clerk, and like I'm not a talkative person, so I just walk in and browse, and it's just awkwardly quiet while like yeah, I don't know. That's like part of the reason I stopped buying comics. I was like, this is just getting I don't know, it just feels weird every time I come in here.
Right. It's like you feel obligated to start a conversation with them, even though you're trying to look at comics, because you kind of feel like they're looking at the back of your head or something. I don't know.
I know, and then them too. They would also they would feel obligated, so they'd recognize me because I'd come in every Wednesday. So they'd be like, "So how'd you like? I don't know, Batman 17?" And I'd be like, "I don't remember. Like I read it. I don't remember though."
Yeah.
And then, but I would always ask them for like recommendations and stuff too, which was nice.
Oh,
but,
right. Yeah, there was a point where I'd go into the comic book store here. There's a few here in town, and I kind of like felt that awkward sense. And the poor lady behind the counter would always try to start conversations, but she was so pretty that I was even more awkward about starting conversations. So it was just,
yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm not coming back here again. I'm like, how are you working at a comic book store? I don't understand this. Anyways.
No, yeah, this guy I would probably keep going to that one. Actually, no, I would probably still feel awkward. But this one was this guy's like your classic like comic book nerd looking guy. I hope he's not watching this at some point, but if he is, shout out to that guy. He doesn't know who I am. But anyway. Yeah, I don't know. He was definitely after like 2020 happened, a lot of shops closed down around that time. Luckily this shop was this is one of the more popular shops here in like San Diego area, so it's still open, but it still got hit pretty hard because not only did like shops just close in 2020 for a while, but also the main comic book distribution line, Diamond Comics, they just like straight up stopped sending out comics for a while, like longer than the lockdown. So that also really screwed up like a lot of comic book shops. Unless like people were like pre-ordering comics specifically. I don't remember the exact details, and I guess I just won't talk. I don't know. But yeah, it just screwed up a lot of things. DC started doing their own distribution thing. Apart from for a long time, it was just Diamond Comics distributing stuff to comic book shops. So when they stopped, like comic book shops had no way to get comics. So anyway, but I just remember going into the shop like in like 2021. I was just randomly in the area. And the guy was like, "Hey, I haven't seen you in a while." And I was like, "Yeah, I just kind of like, I don't know. I thought shops were closed or something." He's like, "Well, you could have bought stuff online." Like you could tell this guy was like jaded. Like he totally got hit. I was like, oh.
You're like, you just forgot about me, dude. You just forgot about me.
And I would imagine I
Oh
was maybe
man.
one of the bigger buyer. I was legitimately spending like I think like $250 a month at this place. I would
Oh.
imagine that's a
Uh-huh.
pretty big
Yeah.
I don't know, a decent customer. I don't
Yeah,
know.
absolutely. Do you have your name on the register and they give you like the fresh new issues that come in and they're like, "Oh, he's looking for this issue of this run." So, it's
I
in.
mean,
They call you up.
it felt like that he would be like, dude, we just got this like imprinted, or it's like a that he yeah, like every time like a special issue came out, he would give me one for like a special price. Whereas like I mentioned, like some comics have like some comics where there's like a first appearance of a character. Those are the ones people usually target the most, and they'll try to go in and buy out like the entire collection of that whatever issue that
Yeah.
is. But he would always save
Uh-huh.
two for me, like a couple for like me and whoever else. But like, yeah, someone would always go in and buy out
Uh-huh.
everything. and
Oh, wow.
there was like
Well,
a
they must
Ninja Turtles comic that was like worth like $50 upon release because of some like ink printing, some kind of like
wow.
some sort of like ish. I don't know, but he saved it for me. He's like, I'll give it to you,
It
ten
was like a
bucks.
variant cover? Uh,
No, it was some.
wow.
I couldn't
Wow.
tell you. I don't know. So it felt even
Oh, wow.
weirder for me to
That's
buy it because
crazy.
I had no idea why it was special, you know. but but
I
yeah,
mean, oh well. Did you ever read it? Did you read it after that?
no, I
It was
still
like the
have it.
Last Ronin or
It
something?
is the Last Ronin. It's the first issue of the
Okay.
Last Ronin. I was trying to think
Oh,
of the
the
name.
last I've not read that series and I don't want to because it sounds too dark and I feel like the Ninja Turtles specifically for me should be colorful and cheerful because that's what it represented, I guess. I guess maybe not in its original format. Who knows? Kevin what was his name uh Michael, the guy who created Ninja
Oh,
Turtles, maybe meant for it to be dark, but it just feels like it's supposed to be cheerful and lighthearted. Since my I was introduced to it like in the '90s, with the cartoon and whatnot,
oh my God!
or
Issue
whatever.
one of the Last Ronin, the one I have, $70 right now.
Wow,
I don't
that's
know
that's
why it's
crazy though, because
so high.
I don't. I guess because of the storyline. I don't know though. It's probably darker than intended. Than I like. But no, I also, like. I wanted to do a shout out to the comic book stores. Just hey, good job, guys. Thanks for keeping the work up. Because it's got to be hard running a comic book shop, and
Oh, for
especially
sure.
during after the pandemic. Holy crap, man! That's phenomenal.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah, but I had a question, and I was I was curious if you had heard about the like the AI usage in DC comic book covers recently.
Oh, I don't
Had you heard
know.
anything about
I
that?
haven't kept up on that. What have you heard?
Okay. Okay. Well, really briefly, I'll touch on it. It was just that there was one artist who was commissioned to do several covers, several variants for these comic books, and it turns out that he was just pretty much um, taking illustrations from professionals that had done drawings of these different superheroes, and then feeding them into the whatever AI he was, and then pulling them out and then just redrawing over them a little bit. And I was just like, I don't know how I feel about that because it's
Oh,
uh,
I'm seeing it right now. It
it's a weird thing.
I'm seeing
Yeah.
DC Comics pulls and replaces covers accused of being generated by AI. And yeah, these are totally
Uh-huh.
generated by AI. Like it's pretty obvious to me.
Yeah.
They look
Which is sad because it feels like DC should be like supporting the artists that are like, not just doing things traditionally, but it feels I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it.
um
I just thought
I
I'd
feel
bring
like
it up.
we're going to be seeing a lot of that coming soon. I feel like a lot of
in the
that's just going to
future.
be happening in the future, unfortunately. But I don't
Oh,
know. It's also I don't know how the general public sees AI stuff. I feel like from what like for me doing commissions, it seems like people have fun with it. But I'd
uh-huh.
imagine it's like not that they're not getting the same rush from it from they're still commissioning me. They're just like, "Hey, I generated this with AI. Can you like redraw it in your style or whatever?"
But I also think like unless it's being used in competitions or because there was another issue with like a Pokemon competition, like people were turning in their art to get their art featured on a Pokemon card, and there were a handful of people that had just put in and submitted uh, AI versions of the Pokemon. Like you could tell they just prompted, Eevee, bubbly, water environment
Oh.
or whatever, and then they just threw that in, and they didn't get selected, of course, but they got like past a lot of people, and like up into like the top 50 or so out of I don't know how many thousands or hundreds.
Yeah, that's the
But
scary
it's just
part.
like, oh man, that's a bummer.
Yeah, that's the scary part
Yeah.
is like we if you're an artist, you can probably pretty quickly tell, but even now, even there's some now where I'm like, I don't know. But if you're just a normal person though, that has nothing, they can't even tell like what I don't know. I feel like a lot of it will fly past like people who don't have that like trained artist eye, and it'll just
Yeah,
I don't know. They'll just
definitely.
think it's someone drew it or whatever. Did you watch X-Men the original series growing up at all?
I did, but I don't ever remember finishing it. So when we started this new episode, I was like, what is happening? And why is that happening? So I had many questions, and I didn't bother to look up what previously happened because I feel like the story kind of fills itself in nicely. Um,
I
but
feel
yeah,
like
I
they
did watch it.
assumed I'm pretty sure they assumed nobody remember. I don't know. I watched it as a kid.
Yeah,
I couldn't remember a single thing. I was too young. Like I wasn't processing stories, Like I
yeah,
don't know what it was about. So I didn't know. Oh, let me bring up my notes here. I don't even have them open. But it
yeah. It
is
was just like, ooh, Wolverine action. Ooh, Jean Grey. Yeah,
Oh yeah, dude, I don't think I processed stories until I was like 32, honestly. Like so,
Same.
I'm arriving, you know.
Yep, me
I'm getting
too. Me too.
uh but yeah, it is a continuation actually of the original series vaguely. They do allude to it a little bit at the beginning. Oh
Uh-huh,
damn.
uh-huh.
I forgot I have a different folder for this show. But yeah, so I guess the assassination attempt on Professor X, that was a thing that happened at the end of the original series. But he didn't actually
Yeah.
die. He was very badly wounded and he was taken to space to be healed by the alien Shi'ar Empire. And that's how the original
Right.
series ended. Do you remember any of I do not know what that means. Do you remember any of that?
I remember the Shi'ar Empire. I don't remember any of the story. I don't remember him getting assassinated. I I just remember his weird girlfriend and the weird headpiece that she has in the original
I
series.
can just
And
remember.
with the weird eye makeup.
I can just. I remember. I thought Shiar. Maybe we're imagining the same person. I thought Shiar was a specific person, the woman with the weird headpiece, because I collected the like the cards, the like trading cards
Oh,
back in the day, and I think I had that one.
oh,
So
okay, okay. Yeah, I can't
Shiar.
remember her name. Can't remember her name, but yeah, I remember that. I
Okay,
remember
I didn't know
those
that was the name of the race. Okay,
bits.
Shiar members. Her name is Her name is, I don't know, Lilandra or
Oh
Shara
yes, Lilandra.
or
That's
Xandra. Oh,
it's
there's a lot with the similar
oh
haircut.
oh
They
god.
all have similar
There's so
haircuts.
many. Do they have the same eye makeup?
I think the one we're talking about is Xandra. She has the weird eye makeup, like the Mike Tyson tattoos, kind of.
Uh,
Maybe
sort
that's
of,
not
I
it.
think.
Oh wait, no,
I
they all
can't
have
remember.
weird tattoos. Never mind. They
They
all
all
have
do.
Mike Tyson tattoos.
I think it might be Lilandra, but we'll find
Okay.
out. We'll find out.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. But anyway, so I mean, I guess we can roll right into the walkthrough because some other
Yeah.
things to just point out. If you don't know what X-Men is at all, people watching X-Men, I don't know why you're watching this, but also X-Men are humans who are born with superhuman abilities that manifest around puberty. The powers they have like a diverse range, anything from like laser blasts out of the eyes to psychic powers to being able to control metal. I just mentioned, Professor X nearly died. So I looked all this stuff up after I watched. I thought he was just dead. I didn't know he was like away in space. So that's good to know. Maybe that's a spoiler. Maybe I shouldn't have said that, but whatever. All right, X-Men is supposed to feel like a soap opera with superheroes. That's another little. This is all from Wikipedia, by the way.
Okay.
And that's I'm glad they put that in the Wikipedia because that's exactly what it feels like. It
It does.
I almost, do you think that was like intentional? They were like, we're gonna make a soap opera with superheroes, like just within X-Men in general, not just for this show. Is that is that what it's supposed to be? Like, did I miss something?
I guess so. I mean, there's a lot of I don't know. It feels like there's a lot of actual relationship drama that kind of caters to the story, so that's why it makes it feel soap opera like.
Yeah, so it deals with just like you said, it deals with a lot of serious topics like relationship stuff, but also discrimination, gender identity, and sexuality to a certain extent. But they're always they're always wimps, and they'll never spell that part out. But anyway, the
Interesting.
series isn't
I
based. I'm like, is there a gay character? I don't know. Okay, and then the series is also based on, or it isn't based on any specific comic book run in particular, but it pulls from all eras of comics. But it reflects on the themes from the Krakoa era, started during the House of X, Powers of 10 run, which I mentioned earlier. And yeah, that's just some stuff to know about before going into this series, I guess. Should we start the walkthrough?
Yeah, let's start the
Oh god, I
walkthrough.
didn't separate this into chapters. All right. I'll just read a few scenes and then we'll stop and talk, I guess.
Okay.
Okay. Let me drink some water real quick. All right.
Dun, dun,
So,
dun, 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 dun.
yeah, we get the classic. They kept the theme song, which was cool.
I
Uh
like that. Yeah.
we learn, okay, the first scene, we learn from like a newscast that Charles Xavier has been assassinated by an NSA agent, Henry
Dun,
Gyrick,
dun, dun.
causing the general public to become a bit more sympathetic to the mutants. And
Mhm.
then and then we go into like some Green Beret people with like Mega Man arms. They have like guns on their arms. Have captured a mutant, and it looks
Oh
like
yeah.
they're about to kill this kid and torture. It looks bad. He's like in a warehouse. They put a collar around his neck that negates his powers, but he's like, "Yo, I'm one of the good ones, and I don't even use my powers anyway." And the captor's like, whatever, sure, you're just a stupid mutant. I don't care. He's like, too bad I'm super racist and don't care. I hate you all. Mexican? No, I'm just kidding. And then Storm, Cyclops, maybe that'll be edit. I don't know. Storm, Cyclops, and Bishop swoop in and basically like save the day. The place becomes kind of a war zone. They're all shooting their gun hands. They get the upper hand on Cyclops, or at least it looks like it. And then he takes his goggles off and like blows up the place. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then they uncover like a giant robot hand, and it would appear they're trying to build these like things called sentinels, which are just like mutant killers basically. And all right, and then now we're in Gambit and Rogue's apartment within the X-Men school. They have their own little, or maybe it's just, I don't know, a common area. They're cooking food. Gambit is in his midriff bearing crop top that made Twitter mad. Cyclops is there. They're talking about how the professor is gone, and then the professor straight up just walks in, and he's talking all weird. And it turns out it's Morph. Morph is just pulling a good prank. Morph, because, like, imagine if your like dad just died, and then he just comes in as your dad. It's like, dude.
Yeah.
And then
that's exactly how I felt. I was like, what the is going on here?
It's like a not a good prank, dude. And then and then pregnant Jean Grey shows up, and they talk about like the new mutant who they just rescued. Now we're in a different scene. The rescued mutant Roberto DaCosta, I think, wakes up in Beast's lab. Jubilee is there too. Cyclops and Storm come in and ask him if he knows anything about the giant robot arms that they saw that the Green Berets had. And he's like, I don't know anything. Why you guys are kidnapping me too? Like, can you let me go? And they're like, whoa, dude, we're not like that. We're just helping you out. And then Cyclops is like, we ain't doing that. We just want you to hang out here for a day, see if you remember anything about the robots or anything, and then you're free to go wherever you want after that.
Okay, so Roberto is, just to clarify, I think he's Brazilian, not Mexican. Not that it makes a difference, but for any of the listeners out there, we're just,
I was just throwing out, okay.
Classifying anybody.
I was just throwing out a random race. But it's unfortunate that it was kind of close to what he is.
Yeah, you're good. You just morphed up the joke, but it's all good. We'll make that is that a verb? Can we use that?
I
just morphed that up. Because I feel like
I pulled
morph in that one scene, like thinking about it, it's like the most insensitive thing that could possibly be done. But like you describing it just makes me realize how comical it is, and it's very telling of his character.
Yeah, the type of humor that he's into.
He has this level of he's a little dark, he's a little awkward and dark. So I guess I can appreciate that. I do like. I do think there was something that, like in the fight where you have Bishop and Storm, and they're taking on the bad guys, and then this reactor is hit and they get knocked out. It's like they seemingly get taken out a little easier than I thought they would. And then Cyclops comes and he like is just navigating the room with his blasts, propelling himself back and forth. He looks pretty cool. I think in this opening it's. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's cool how they're I don't know if that's a thing he usually does, but him like he's using his blasts to like almost like fly, and he does this later in the episode too. Is that a thing he's done?
Yeah,
I've never seen that. Like, it just seems like a cool way to use that power.
Oh,
maybe he's done it, and I just haven't.
Yeah, I think in the comics he's maybe. Not in the original series. In the original series, his animation's pretty tame. So I'm really liking the way they're making him like active and utilizing his powers. Like, he's pretty much boss in this episode. So
yeah,
I liked that. And then we got to the crop top, which is fun. And I like how you made it made Twitter mad. It did. It's not a big deal either. I think there were people sporting crop tops in the 90s. Not that I would see them a lot, but occasionally, especially if you were like in a band, even during like the 80s into the 90s.
I would say like when I was in high school, like football, like athletes would commonly show up to like class in that sort of getup. It was I always thought it was
Yeah,
weird. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah.
I was like, "What? Just wear a regular shirt." But you know, people. I've seen people wear
We're-
stuff like that. So
yeah,
nowadays, I don't care. Wear whatever.
it's
But
true. Yeah. But I think it was appropriate to capture the time that they're in, the 90s, because I think the visual with the X-Men and their outfits is very it caters to them, but it doesn't cater to the 90s look exactly, because nobody's walking around in blue spandex and yellow belts wrapped around them. Even though the X-Men are, I think like Gambit sporting that was good. It kind of sets the tone and the setting.
all right, continuing.
Okay, next scene.
Jubilee takes Rob to the danger room and shows him Magneto, and he gives him his like history or whatever. He's like, yeah, Magneto and Charles are, like, they're gay. No, I'm just kidding. That he doesn't. Jubilee's she's just trying to get him to use his powers because he hasn't like shown off he hasn't used his powers, and he doesn't use them. Wolverine hops in and he's just like, Bub, Bub, what's up, Bub? And he's like, what are you trying to scare me? And he's like, I'm not a hologram, I'm real. And like that's the end of that scene. And then Cyclops and Jean are talking to Dr. Cooper, who's like via Skype. She's running on a treadmill. She looks like Mercy from Overwatch. For people that don't, they just want a visual. There's been reports coming in. I thought it like I didn't know who that was. So at first I thought it was like Emma Frost, but no, Dr. Cooper. There's been reports coming from all over about groups trying to make Sentinels or whatever, and then like the robot arm that they found was like the first like confirmed proof of like, yeah, they're trying to make Sentinels. And now with the professor gone, Cyclops is the head of the X-Men. So he's getting used to that. And again, this takes place 1 year after the original show. So it hasn't been that long since the events of the original series. Jean's pregnant, and she's like, maybe we shouldn't be in the X-Men anymore, Scott. Scott's like, but I like X-Men. And then that's that scene. Down on the basketball court.
I like my spandex.
Yeah. Okay, on the basketball court, the rest of the X-Men are playing like a pickup game of basketball, but Jubilee like blasts Wolverine with her fireworks because he scared Roberto away. I don't know how, but I guess just doing Wolverine stuff. I don't know. He ran away, and Jean urges Wolverine to go find him after Wolverine and Cyclops like bicker a little bit. They don't like each other.
Well, I do like Wolverine picking on him at the beginning where he just pops in and then he's like clawed. He sends his claws on the opposite sides of his face into the ground.
Yeah.
You're just like, what if Wolverine just like twitched and had like an impulse of like what are those reactions that your muscles have when they just like twitch in without you having to do anything?
Yeah,
What if he just like did that and his middle claw just came out? And yeah. like would that ever happen? That could happen, I feel like.
It's like that scene in
careless.
like Pulp Fiction where he accidentally like shoots the guy in the head because they hit a. Did you ever see Pulp Fiction?
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
That could totally. I feel like to anybody that could happen, even a superhero.
Is this the scene where that Dr. Cooper is jogging?
Yeah, she's like on a treadmill.
Is she jogging while she's talking to them?
Yeah.
Okay. That's an interesting choice visual. I mean, I guess it shows that she's like living her life, and she's a human being, as opposed to just her sitting down and doing something. But I don't know. I mean, could have animated her doing any other thing, I guess.
Do you think it's like implying? I'm not sure how deep this writing is. I don't know, but do you think it's implying like she doesn't really like? She's not gonna. She doesn't take the X-Men that seriously. Maybe it's kind of like. Well, first of all, who is Dr. Cooper? Like, do we know? She's like a government personnel, right? Like, Yeah, okay. She's like their yeah, she's their contact to the government. Maybe it's just kind of showing she doesn't care to give them her full attention. It's like a subtle
Uh,
like either she's just a go-getter and she just tries to always be she's either getting in the workout when she can get it in, or it's like a subtle like
uh-huh.
insult to them, you know?
Well, I'm trying to imagine if I was like just jogging and doing this podcast at the same time. Just like, oh, I got to get my jog in at the same time
I
because I'm too busy. I'm so busy.
It's
Oh
not just
no.
like it's not like a computer screen. It's like a full wall, full body shot of her. I was like, did they get the bounce? Nope. Okay.
Oh,
All
the
right. Moving
physics
on.
of it.
That's fine. Whatever.
And moving
It's a
on.
kid's
Yeah.
show.
All
That
right.
that was one of the
Yes, kid show.
things.
All right.
That
Next
was one of the
scene.
things I didn't
Oh,
like about at first. I didn't really like the tone of the show at the beginning, but they kind of change it from episode 1 to episode 2. Episode 1 is very much they wrote it in the exact same way that they wrote the old series, which is like I'm a bad guy. Look at
yeah.
me. Ah. Like that type of dialogue, and I didn't
Mhm.
really I didn't like that. I thought it felt like I was being talked down to.
Oh. Sorry, just letting you know, it sounds like they're doing something to break her right now.
All right, we're back. It's been an hour. It's been 50
Yes.
hours. But yeah, we're back.
Season 2 has already come out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're back to recording now. Did we said everything we wanted to say about those last scenes, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Okay, scene 7: Gambit, Wolverine, Rogue, Jubilee, Morph. They go to a nightclub and they do like TikTok dances. They don't, but that would have been cool. They know Rob is in there somewhere. Wolverine can smell them, but he can't pinpoint it because there's too many smelly dancing people in there. So they spread out, look around. Uh, some of the Green Beret people come in. They're dealt with off screen. So okay, Jubilee finds Rob, and they do more TikTok dances. Her dance incorporates her. She's just openly firing out her powers while she dances.
Yeah.
Wolverine and the rest.
Could start a fire.
I didn't write down what they talk about. So, but anyway, so they talk while they're dancing for a little bit. Robin, Jubilee, Wolverine, and the rest of the X-Men interrupt. They took care of the Green Beret the Green Beret Mega Man people, basically, and. Yeah, and that's the scene. Yeah. I forget. They say something interesting is said or something important is said there. I didn't catch it. But anyway, in the next scene, Cyclops, Storm, Bishop go to visit Henry Gyrick in prison, and again, that's the guy that assassinated what's his face, Xavier. It's in like an Alcatraz like prison. And they want to know where a guy named Trask is. They're not getting much out of him. He's just kind of gloating about killing Charles, and he's like, "Yeah, the public like you now, but it's just a fad." Heavy hitting, but anyway. And he also makes fun of Cyclops for trying to fill in Javier's shoes, and he's like, "I'm not trying, dude. I don't know. I'm just doing it." And then Jean Grey butts in telepathically from Cerebro. And she's able to read a little bit of his thoughts. She sees some stuff happening in I think it was like Egypt, some desert somewhere. But while she's doing this, someone else, she gets interrupted psychically. And and all of a sudden she's in like a nightmarish landscape with like a dark purple sky and a dark city. I thought it was a city at first, but it turns out it's like a cemetery. But anyway, it's like a cemetery at night, purple sky. She holds her baby, and then a giant sentinel calling himself Master Mold pops out of the ground and like just blasts her. And she wakes up.
Yep.
It was a premonition. She's like, "Scott, we need to find Trask now." She was able to deduce a little. She was able to see that Trask is somewhere in the Sahara Desert. So that's where they're headed now. In the next scene, they're in the X-Jet. Is that what it's called? I don't know what it's called. X-Jet.
the Blackbird or the X-Jet. I think it's called both. I
Okay.
can't remember exactly.
So they're in that. It's like the entire team. They're heading to the Sahara
Yeah.
Desert. Gene's, yeah, that's where Gene
Hmm.
said he was. The jet, Scott and Logan bicker a little more, and then they get attacked by a Sentinel. It straight up just demolishes that plane, rips
Yeah.
off the roof. Everybody's falling. Scott is able to or is it Scott or Wolverine? Someone destroys the Sentinel like easily, but then they're still falling to the grounds. And Storm, Archangel, and Rogue, like the only flying members, they save the team. Everyone lands safely. Scott uses his cool optic
Hmm.
blast, shoots it at the ground to like slow his descent, and that's how he
Yeah.
lands safely. Creates like a cool crater and everything. And like now they're in the middle of a desert, but they seem fine. They're cool about it. Whatever. That's where they want to be. So
Uh,
they just continue walking.
I think in the scene with Jubilee and Roberto, that's his name, right? Roberto
Yeah,
da Costa.
they call him Rob or yeah,
Yeah, they
DaCosta, but yeah.
there's some nice character setup points where he's talking about Xavier's dream and she's kind of arguing the point of why it's still important, but he's like, "Oh, but it's some old white guy's dream, blah blah blah. We should have fun, enjoy life." And I think he kind of keeps that notion, but we'll see that challenged as things progress. And I think that's an important point to understand in terms of like all of the X-Men are going through this challenge of why are they trying to hold up this ideal that somebody else has set aside for them, and should they and do they need to? And so each one of them is kind of put in that box. But I like that conversation between them because it kind of gives importance to Jubilee because she's the voice of reason there, and he's kind of just learning how to grow up. And then uh, jumping all the way to the when the Blackbird is like destroyed and everything. I think Storm or somebody makes a comment about like, oh, I guess Beast is gonna have his hands busy again, or was it before? I don't know. Somewhere in there, they make a comment that Beast is the one that's been designing and rebuilding and fixing the Blackbird or whatever
Oh,
X Jet over and over again. So he's like the Alfred of the group. I imagine Alfred is like always fixing Batman's vehicles and then let's talk about Scott's like neck muscles. He's throwing that optic blast down. Like the weight of his body is
oh
like
my
being
god,
supported by
that's
his neck.
so true. Yeah, dude, he
Yeah,
like
yeah.
if there was a city down there, that it would be gone. Like he just blasts the shit out of the ground to like. How does he know none of the other X-Men are down there? You know.
But I think every time I see a new character come in, I'm always tripped up, and every time it tricks me, and I have to realize a moment later that it's Morph. Because you see Archangel come in, and then you're like, where the heck did he
Oh,
come from?
okay,
Was he even
yeah.
in the ship? And, and then you're like, oh, wait a second. Okay, they have a guy that does these
I
things
didn't
that
even know
can
that.
transform.
Yeah. I just thought it was Archangel. So you're you're
Oh,
revealing that to
sorry.
me now.
Yeah, I was just needing to know more about Morph because if he can change into other mutants and take on their abilities, like doesn't that put him at an Omega level?
I
Well,
don't
he
know.
was part of the Brotherhood in the first series, right? And he looked a lot different.
I
In
don't.
this one, he's just like a Voldemort looking guy. In the first series, he had like a
Okay.
nose and black hair and looked really he looked like a crack addict.
All right. Okay. They
Yeah.
they make it to. They're still in the desert. They make it to what looks like a Sentinel scrapyard, and Trask is just standing out in front of this like factory-looking place. He's ready for their arrival. He knew they were coming somehow. He's just a big battle breaks out. He summons several like junked Sentinels. They're like Sentinels, but they're like falling apart. And yeah, they're taken care of like
Mhm.
easily. And then a second wave shows up. They call in Storm, and she makes easy work of them. They really make Storm look super powerful in this episode. and
Yes.
because
Yeah.
yeah. And then one really big sentinel shows up and it's easily destroyed. You're like, oh, it's going to be a problem. And no, it's just like Wolverine like cuts its head off or whatever.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Because the
Yeah.
last that big one at the end, it didn't look junked like the other. This one looked new, like it was well put together. But anyway, yeah, they easily. That's the big fight of the episode. It's like a 3-tiered, 3 waves of battles happen in that scene. Dr. Cooper shows up via helicopter along with a bunch of like army guys. They arrest Trask. And Cooper talks to Scott, and she's like, "You're basically Charles Xavier now, huh?" And he's like, "Nah, dude, that was teamwork."
Yeah. We are Charles Xavier.
Yeah. And Jubilee. In the next scene, Jubilee and Rob are hanging out in like I guess the bell tower of the school. They're like on top of the school, the observatory tower of the school. And there's still Jubilee's whole thing is she's just trying to like talk him into joining the X-Men or whatever. Like, just live here. It's like we're a bunch of cool freaks. He has like family issues. His parents don't actually know he's a mutant, and that's why he like never uses his powers. He's afraid they're gonna like see it on TV or something. But he finally, like in this scene, he shows off his powers, and it's like a weird like Kirby crackle thing. We don't actually know what it is. It's just like his arm goes black, Kirby crackles, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a dark shadow power or something, like Noob Saibot from Mortal Kombat Trilogy. Okay, and then Rob leaves and gives Jubilee his card, and he's like, "By the way, I'm super rich, and I also have a jet intact, not ripped apart like yours." And he's like, "Call me." And then, and then back on the basketball court, it's later, maybe the next day, I don't know. The entire team is about to play a pickup game. Jean's like, "No powers, idiots." Remember, we do this all the time, but we have to remind you. Cyclops and Jean make an announcement, though. Before they play the game, bad move. They should have waited till after the game. But they're like, "Yeah, we're leaving. We're leaving the X-Men." But just then, the intruder alarm goes off. They go into Charles' office. They see Magneto, and he's like, "Dude, Charles left me in his will, and basically the school is mine. You're all mine. All this money's mine." Yeah, that's happening.
Everything's mine.
Yeah, and that's how it ends. And let me just recap the main plot points that I feel like are going to carry through. So basically, an underground military organization is trying to follow in Henry Gyrick's footsteps by building Sentinels to presumably kill the X-Men. Scott and Jean Grey are leaving the X-Men, or they're considering it at least because they're having a kid. And then Magneto just shows up, and he's like, "I own everything." Mic drop, and then that's how it ends.
Yes. I wanted to talk about the fight scene where you have Storm kicking butt. They make her look, super powerful as she comes in and just wrecks all those other Sentinels. But then this is my issue with that, is that at the first scene at the beginning, she's just really easily taken out by those two gunmen. Those two henchmen.
Oh, I missed that. I definitely missed that part. That's hilarious.
The contrast is kind of funny because she's like wrecking everybody at the end of the episode, which I love.
Oh, for sure.
And it shows her power, and I like that.
Is she considered?
And I love how theatrical she is.
Is she like considered an Omega level X-Men or whatever?
Oh yes.
Yeah, she's
definitely
strong. She's definitely
Yeah. And let's see. During that fight scene, I also really like the little combo tag thing that happened between Gambit and Morph and Wolverine, where Gambit is like charging Wolverine's claws, and then Wolverine will jump on Morph as the Blob, because Morph will change into the Blob, and he bounces him off, and that's what shoots him, cut off that Sentinel's head. Like that was really cool. I like the teamwork
Oh yeah.
aspect of it.
A
Um,
lot of that's usually when like fight scenes
and
happens, my mind just goes numb. I don't know. It's all just like blur to me. I'm just like, when does this fight scene end? I don't know.
uh-huh.
So I'm glad you're picking up
When
on these
yeah,
details
oh
because that sounds awesome.
yeah, it is awesome. I think nowadays, like animation and movies, is getting better at telling a story through the actions of these characters rather than just having the action occur. So now you get to see like even the teamwork between Gambit and Wolverine. You know, who else is gonna let Wolverine? Who else like you wouldn't see Scott jumping on Wolverine's back. Like that would be just
True.
awkward.
Yeah.
You know, they're not that close, but then Gambit and you know Wolverine are probably a little more chummy, so there's a comfort level there. And yeah, I like little interactions like that that are story worthy, storytelling. Like
Episode one.
okay,
Should we go into ratings? Episode one.
uh,
I'll give it like a 6. um,
okay,
it gets dramatically better. Episode 2 and 3. I feel like so. I'm gonna give this one a 6.
uh-huh.
I didn't like the. I don't know. It's good. It's good. I definitely came around
Yeah.
to it, but after watching it like 4 times. So the first 3 times I was like, God, I don't know if I even want to do this like podcast. I'm not gonna have anything good to say.
Oh,
But I'm so glad it gets better over the next like soon, episode 2.
yes,
I can't
yeah,
pinpoint why I didn't connect with it at first. At first it just felt like a jumbled mess, which is kind of like how just X-Men in general, the comics too, there's just so many characters. You're
hmm
constantly going like you're going through like so many different characters. And it's for me, I don't know, it just throws me off. I feel like when there's not just like one central character to follow. It's like many storylines, but it's actually not that many storylines. It just kind of feels like it. I guess they all do have their own little like
yeah.
personalities and quirks you have to kind of get used to. That was another thing I didn't really like though. They were all just like, yeah, I'm like they were just saying it. They're like I'm Beast and I'm kind of quirky. Like they were all kind of talking
Oh
like
yeah.
that. Um, so I'm
Uh-huh.
imagining they were trying to match the writing style of the cartoon in the 90s, the original series, which is, it makes sense they would do that. But it's also like that cartoon was actually for children.
Yeah, I agree. I'll give this episode an 8 because it for me was solid. It had all the elements that they had a lot of the elements that they had in the original series, and then they kind of souped it up. Like you can hear it in the music how they amplified some of the bit of the like guitar and the played down the synth. I don't know. It was good. I like it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
definitely
just the little
updated.
themes they had.
They updated it
Hmm.
very well, I feel like.
But I also like this theme that they have of like the X-Men dealing with loss and grief and them trying to figure out what they're doing after Xavier. And then when Magneto comes in, you know, that just leaves you with this nice little cliffhanger that's like, okay, some stuff's about to happen. So it created some intrigue. And yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I liked Jubilee dancing. That one extended scene of her dancing.
Yeah. With the fireworks. She could have caught something on fire like so easily, man. That would have
And then,
that would have been
the
fun.
the Cyclops blasting to land. I don't know. They just made it look so epic.
Yes.
Can't not
Yeah.
like
But
that.
I love how theatrical Storm is every time she uses her powers. She's like, you know,
Oh yeah,
whatever she
she has a
says.
lot
Sands
of.
of time, blah 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 blah.
Aurora is her name. They say it a lot in this series. Aurora. It
Yeah.
really cuts the tension in a
Aurora.
lot of scenes. Honestly, for me. There's a lot of dramatic
Aurora.
scenes later where it's like it's supposed to be like a sad moment, and then they're like, "Aurora, all right,
Oh, well.
we're out, cool,
We're out. See ya.
bye."